All right. Greetings. Good day. This is very early in the morning where I am, and welcome to another video. Okay. So, in our last set of videos, we began talking about different things, speaking about how to set up your model space, working with Google Sketchup, getting Google Sketchup, getting acquainted with the basic stuffs. We did some exercises, we played around with different tools, the getting started tools, and then we arrived at where we played around with groups and components, and yeah. So today we will be doing live models. All right. So I think I explained extensions, but in case I didn't, I'm just going to use this beginning part of the video to explain what extensions are. All right. So oh, I think I did. I actually did explain the extensions. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead to begin the main purpose of this video, and that is modeling. All right. So in this video, we're going to be modeling a lot of objects. We're going to be modeling a lot of objects. So I'm currently on my rendering PC because my other PC kept crashing for some unknown reason. That's the SketchUp kept crashing. So here I am today here, and we're going to be modeling a lot of things. I'm going to break the videos to different models, maybe like two twos or three threes, stuff like that. So, but I was just going to model some weird stuff, and I'm going to do everything live. I haven't done any pre-tests or stuff, and the main reason I haven't done that is so that you could learn from the mistakes and the errors that could happen. You know, you don't always model something perfectly from the start. All right, so if we encounter any mistakes, that would be a good point for you to learn from. If we don't, well, all right. So let's get started. So the first thing we have here is table, chairs, and cabinet. All right, basic things like table, chairs, and cabinet. All right. So in the closed class, I actually did model a um a dining set, and for the cabinet, I just chose something that looks like a cabinet. Right. So I just chose these. So I went on Google to download some pictures, not mine by any means. I just downloaded some pictures that we'll use, so we could model these. Yeah, these are like a cabinet like stuff that we could model. So this will be the cabinet we'll model. Then for the table and the table and the chairs, we'll be modeling this dining table set. Um, that's an image. We're modeling this dining table set. So yeah, so just gonna get this table from here. Then I will model this chair. I'll model two variation of chairs. I'll model this one first, then I'll model the other one. All right. So without much talkings, let's get started. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is let me run my SketchUp. All right. So um before you begin to model any model, the first thing you want to do is to really settle down and analyze your model. You want to ensure that you understand what you are looking at before you begin to model. You don't just go and start making shapes. All right, so I would like to start from the chair. So that's why I'll begin here. So I just got something that had dimensions on it so we could get a level of realism to what we're doing. You know, you want your models or your scene to look realistic. One of the most important things there is accuracy, then the nearness to real world values. All right. So looking at this chair, we can tell that in reality it has different parts of it. So I'll just use my sniping tool so I could explain. All right, so I'll just quickly take a snipe from the top part. All right, now if you quickly observe this, the thing you need to understand is knowing when to create groups and when to separate objects. All right, that's why we're analyzing this. So if you carefully look at this, you can tell that at some point there is a difference between this wood here and this wood here and this wood here and this wood here. Those are different objects. And you would not necessarily want to model this as one piece of geometry joined together. You know, we've spoken about geometry being your raw model and stuff like that. But if you want to model something like this and you want to get out that realistic look from your render engine, you might want to ensure that the piece of geometries that are separate remain separate. For example, this is a different piece of wood from this in real life. So why make it one joined, you know, like as if you pulled it out of the wood, and it's now part of one geometry. Like you could select all of them together by triple clicking. Now if you could do that, that means you made it as one geometry, and that's not really a good practice, because you'd like to separate things that should be separated. For example, from this is one piece of geometry. I mean, they're all going to combine together to make the whole chair. This whole leg, or this whole support by the side, is one piece of geometry going all the way down. This is another piece of geometry. All right. So you really want to settle down and analyze your model like this to ensure that you understand what you're dealing with before you begin. All right. So if we come down here again and we take a snipe, if we take a snipe at this area, you begin to understand that this right here is a piece of geometry on its own as well. This right here is a piece of geometry. You can see the seam there. All right. So later on, we're going to talk about seams. Seams as in SEAM. And then you can see this is another piece of geometry. You see there's a line going on here. That's like a whole leg going on from there, like that point. All right. You need to identify these things because it will affect how you model it. This as well is another piece of geometry from here. All right. So you could just see how we quickly identify geometries that are separate, so that when we are modeling, we'll take note of that. Then the other thing there is, if you quickly observe this model, you find out that it has some mirrored or symmetric parts. For example, this model is entirely symmetric from the very middle. What that means is, if you were to create this as a component and you flip it, you could just model half and the other half will automatically be modeled. But I'm not going to do exactly that. I'm just going to do the parts that are symmetric, the parts that are mirrored. So that's going to be from this point, this whole support, all right, and this whole support. So I'll just do this whole support, then mirror it to the other side with the flip tool, all right, and I'm just going to use the components. All right, you use components. Now another thing you want to do is to recognize where you use components. When you have things that are recurring, that have multiple instances that are, you know, symmetric, or they are replicas, then you might want to use components. All right, so for every other minor thing, you might want to use a group. All right, so to begin this model, you could start your model anyway, but looking at this model, I think it would be easier for me to begin from the rest, the sitting part. So I'm just going to jump into SketchUp, and I mean, there's a lot of things going on here, so but I'm just going to quickly do this. All right. A default tray. Okay, I'll just rest that. All right, rest there. Seems like getting started to launch tool set. I use launch tool set majorly. All right, so I might not be using any plugin first, so I will not need all those. So my entity info, please come up. My outliner seems to be missing. I don't know, it seems like. All right, all right. So my outliner is there, my info is there, so I can begin modeling. All right, so the first thing I want to do is to drag in my reference, bring in my reference, and since the chair is standing, I might just want to use my shortcut Q to capture the use shortcut Q to capture, get the rotate tool, and then I want to rotate this, but then I press the right arrow key So I could rotate it up, then I just rotate it on the flat level to face that side, because that's the side of the model away. All right, so the shape of the seat rest is, I don't know whether they meant centimeters, but I believe that's centimeters, so I'll be using centimeters for that. So that's going to be 45 centimeters by 45 centimeters. All right, so you can see it's quite small, so I'll just scale it down so I don't have to look so far. All right, so the thickness of the rest, I will just make that, let's see, I'll make that like 20. All right, then I'll triple click and I'll make this group, and then I'll name it the chair rest or base. All right, chair base. All right, then the next thing is we could see that from the bottom, from the ground to the top is 45. So that means I will just move this up by 45 centimeters, and then I'll keep it there. Then I just begin by modeling. All right, so clearly if you look at this leg, you tell that this is a rectangle up here and a square up here or something of that nature. And then down here, it's smaller, like it reduced. So it's like it starts from a fat radius or a fat width, and then comes down slightly smaller. And it has a kind of slide to it. So what I'll do is I'll get a good level. So let me see, 50 by 50. All right, 50 by 50 for the leg. I'll do something like that. Then I'll push this down to that point. I think that's far enough. Then from this point, what I'll do is, since there's a kind of chamfer going on here of some sort, then I'll just scale this in by 0.8, 0.8. And you see I have that nice looking stuff going on there. All right, so I just triple click that and make that a group. I'll call this the front leg, front front support or front leg chair. All right, so try to label your stuff correctly. I just give it a very convincing label and stuff like that. All right, so that's that for that guy. Then the back leg support. If I get to the back, I could come here, and if you notice, if you pay attention, you'd find out that this isn't as thick as this one. All right, so I'll just do something. I just get the same. I'll get the same dimensions first of all, 50 by 50. And then I just like to do this. There are different ways you could do that. You could draw it out before you scale it, and it doesn't get the chamfer that this one does, or whatever I call that thing. So well, I can push this in. Total is 50, so I can push it by like 20. All right, so I can get that whole thing going on right there. That means it's 30 thick. Then one other thing that we take note of is, if you look closely, you find out that this support goes the way down through. There's no cut going on here. It goes the way down through, passing through this base, and goes up all the way to the top. So it's one whole piece of geometry going up. So what I would do is I pick this up, I push it up to this point. Now you notice the way I pulled it. Now this is a group, so the push-pull tool can't work on a group, and this is the only bare geometry here. So if I click on any part of it, now even though that this is on top of it, if I click on it, it recognizes that there is a face there. All right, so I can push this up to this point, then I can come into this group and cut that space out. I just use my line tool or rectangle tool, and then I pull this down to tear off that part. And now you see it's like the whole thing is coming up through it. All right, then from this point I can just check the total height of the table is 100. All right, 100 centimeters. So I'll just measure this down up to 100 centimeters. All right, and it goes all the way up. Then what I would do is, from this point, if you really paid attention to the chair, you find out that it has a kind of back slant from this area. So what I would do now, never forget, you don't necessarily have to model everything as exactly as it is done. So, but you can, have some flexibilities in what you're doing. So what I'll do from here is, instead of just pushing it up while it goes the whole way, because I want it to slant, what I'll do here is to press Control to bring out the additional face. So it leaves a face from where it was, and then I draw one up. So I just draw this all the way to the maximum top. All right. So with that, we have that going on, and I could just come and pick this up. I select this the face, and I just move it back just like twin, right? Just so it slants a little bit, all right? So it slants a little bit, just a little bit, all right? So we have that going on there already. So we can continue. I'll take this and make a group out of it because it's one piece of geometry. I'll call it a chair side, chair back support, back leg. Let me just call it back leg now. All right. Then we have this whole thing going on here. All right. So, but before that, we have this thick part. So what I'll do is I'll draw this out down like so. Now take note of this. You see how it's locked to 30 on the dimension part. If you look at the lower right, the dimension, you see how it's locked to 30 because the width is 30 as I'm moving along here. Now, if I wanted to leave that 30 and just enter the height I wanted to have, all I need to do is take note of the part. Is the height the first part, or is it the second part before the comma in the dimension? So if I look, I say, okay, is the first part. So all I just do is I would say 50, then comma, then I won't type any other value. And if I don't type any other value, what it will do is to take the last value from the previous dimension, which was 30. So I press enter, it does that exactly thickness of 30 with the 50 I just measured. All right. So I'll just push pull that till we get to this point. Then I'll triple click that and group this. All right. So I'll call this chair base support. All right. Then for the lower part, let's see the lower part. I'll zoom. It's in the middle area, so I just get the middle point. All right. So I've gotten that midpoint right there. So I'll just take my tool and I'll just draw stuff down. Same 30, I draw down by 40, comma. All right. Then I'll push pull this all the way to the very end. All right. Then if you take notes, you find out that there's a little bit of offset from the end. So I'll just push this in. So it goes all the way 30. So I'll just push it in by maybe 5. All right, just so I have that little space going on right there. I could still do make it 10. All right, so I pushed the last time was 5. When I double clicked the push pull tool again on another surface, it does that push again with the same dimension, which is 5. So that double push I just did amounts to 10 total. All right, so that being said, I think I'm done with that. Now you can see this is coming out like this because of okay, I didn't push it all the way through, so let it touch the surface. All right. All right, it's fine like this. It's all right like this. It doesn't have to perfectly fit in. So I could actually push it till it does. So but this, I'll call this chair uh, leg, chair yeah, chair leg um, mm, chair leg support. All right, let me just call that chair leg support. All right, so like that, I have these guys done. Right now, if I select all these, I could make them a component, and I'll call it chair support. All right, and I call it chair support so that I could flip it. All right, now I want to flip it along the middle point of this. So I kind of discovered that if you want to flip something like this, what I usually do is I just draw a flat surface at the very middle where I want to flip it along. Draw a flat surface in the very middle where I want to flip it along, just going up. so that when I apply the flip through tool, it flips it very flatly to the other side. So when I click on this, I come to the flip tool and I just click on this surface, flips it all the way. Now, if I wanted to flip it, leaving a copy, I just press the control. So when I flip, it flips a copy of it. So automatically it flips it to the other side, and voila, we have that right there going on. All right. So just to conclude, that I will just carry on and complete this model. I draw that rectangle there, push pull to get to this point. All right. Make group, name that later, but let me push this, bring this to the top. I'll duplicate that, put that there, and then in it, I'll just push it till it comes to this dot. All right. So I'll select those two, or let me just, I'll call it support one. Share these support front. Oh, that's the back. And then I'll do Chevy support front. All right. Then I think that concludes that. All right. That concludes that for the front part. All right. So two more things, three things left. This, and this. All right. So if we look at the picture, we could tell that it goes 26 from the seat, from this seat up 26. So I'll just do a measurement from this point. I'll measure 26 upwards, 26 centimeters, and that shows that it's gonna end just there. All right. Now from that point, I could take my dimensions and bring it down just so I have a flat line going on there. Then I have two planks of the same size separated by 3 millimeters. All right. Then I now have a final one going up there. All right. So what I'll do is this. I'll just draw a rectangle all the way like that. So I won't draw it all through. Doesn't really matter. Depends on your design choice. Okay, so I'll draw this 45 by 30. All right, and I'll just push pull this to the other end. I've got enough part. Then I'll triple click and I'll make this a group. Then a distance from this guy coming down should be 3 centimeters as they require. Now I'll have to draw a rectangle from this guy all the way down. Let me use the same. Okay. Let me draw it like this. Then I'll do this. Now I'm doing this way because I want to get an accurate spacing between both both the wood over there. So I'll just go to the middle and get to the middle. There are different ways to model. And then I'll space this up by 1.5 centimeters. Now space this down by 1.5. Wait, that was not 5. That was 1.3. Get that one was 1.5. That's 15. Oh, sorry. That's 15. All right. And I just do a rectangle through or a line. And I push pull all the way back to cut that off. Okay, I didn't cut off. Push pull all the way back to cut that off. And I'll just delete that face. All right. So I have those two things. Now just make a group and make group. So I can just select all this and call that, make that a group and call it chair rest. Chair rest. All right, perfect. So now I have successfully made the components of the chairs, the various parts of the chairs. So I'll just go ahead now and I think I'll delete this now. Then I would select all this together. select all this together. I want to delete all the guides. Then I would make a group out of this, or I'll make it a component and I'll call this dining chair. All right. So I won't configure anything currently. I'll just go to create. All right. Perfect. Beautiful. All right. So one other thing I would like to do is I usually like to add some arrow symbols for the sake of alignment. You know, you know, placing these things in a scene can be stressful sometimes. So I'd like to do something like this. All right. Just put. Let's see. Let me see. Three sides. All right. So I'll put something like this. And the reason I did that is so I can have, and I'll just delete all that inside. So I can have like a controller I use to move it around. So if I delete that, I could easily, when I want to move it, I just pick it up and I click and I select there to move it. If I want to rotate it, I just rotate it with that. You get? All right. So that being said, now that's just a line, so it won't show when I'm doing my rendering. It's faces. Faces are what shows up in your rendering, not lines. All right. So in SketchUp here, we could see lines and all that, but when you start rendering, lines don't show, just faces. All right. So that being said, we're done with the chair, and it's been made a dining chair component. So I think we can hide that. Or before I go ahead to create a dining chair, I said I was going to make two variables.